Chapter 6. Over a cup of tea we made plans. As soon as it was open, we'd go to the market and buy a whole stack of mirrors from Woolworths. When we got to the marketplace, the shops were still closed. The stall holders were assembling their displays under the flaring carbide lamps. The street was crisscrossed with shafts of good-humoured abuse, instructions and speculations as to the course of the day. Feet were stamped as if to kill the creeping insects of the cold. Oil drum braziers stood on their bricks, bringing the tea water to the boil. The coffee stall breathed its perfume of hot saveloys and coffee over the whole marketplace. "A cuppa, 2 a dip, and a cheesecake, gov," said the taxi bloke. "I will have a cuppa and a couple of bangers," said his mate. "What's for you, cock?" It was my turn. 2 cuppas and 4 savs. I slapped the money on the counter and got back the change, along with the handful of tea from the dripping counter. Anna stood grasping her mug in both hands, her nose buried deep. Over the rim of the mug, 2 smiling and blazing eyes sucked in everything. She couldn't hold her tea and the saveloys at the same time, so I stuck them between the fingers of my left hand, ready when she wanted them. There was a space on the next stall to put my mug down while I jiggled out a fag one-handed. I tried to light a match by scraping it with my thumb. I never managed to learn that trick. The nearest I ever got was when the match head came off and stuck under my thumbnail. It lit then. It wasn't supposed to do that, and it hurt. Anna lifted up her foot, and I lit it. The tempo was hotting up. "Mind your backs, please, mind your backs." Like the bow wave from a passing ship, we all washed into the curb and washed back out again as a horse and cart sliced its way through the mob, the horse steaming in the morning frost. "Ernie!" yelled the lady in the leather apron. "Where the hell's me ruddy cabbages?" To anyone who cared to listen, she added, "He'll be the death of me. He'll put me in my grave." "Fat chance," shouted someone else. The sandwich board man arrived, announcing to all and sundry that the end is nigh, and asked for a cup of tea. "Blimey, the Herald Angel's here." "Here you are, Joe. Have a cup of wet and warm with me." It was the taxi bloke. "Thanks, Gov," said the Herald Angel. "Whatcha, Joe?" "What's the good news for today?" "The end is nigh," moaned old Joe. "You give me the flipping horrors." "What was it last week? Prepare to meet thy doom." "How the hell do you get all those messages?" "He gets 'em as a telegram from St. Peter." From the end of the counter, a voice like a clap of thunder menaced all the company with, "Which of you sodden biscuits pinch me bangers?" "They're under your flipping elbow." "Harry, mind your language, there's a nipper here." Harry pushed away from the counter with a fistful of bangers in one hand and a pint-sized mug of tea in the other. The mug looked like an egg cup in his hand. "Hello, nipper, what's your name?" said Harry. "Anna. What's your'n?" "Harry." "You on your own?" "No, with him." She nodded at me. "What you doing down the road at this time of the morning?" "We're waiting for Woolies to open," explained Anna. "What you buying at Woolies?" "Some looking glasses." "Oh, that's nice." "Buying 10 of them." "What do you want 10 for?" "So we can see the different worlds," said Anna. "Oh," said Harry, none the wiser. "You're a proper caution, ain't you?" Anna smiled. "Would you like a bar of chocolate?" asked Harry. Anna looked at me and I nodded. "Please, mister." "No, Harry," corrected Harry, wagging a couple of pounds of forefinger at her. "Please, Harry." "Arthur," yelled Harry over his shoulder, "chuck us a couple of bars of that chocolate." Arthur chucked and Harry caught. "Here you are, Anna. Some chocolate." "Oh, "Thank you," said Anna. "Thank you what?" Harry's voice curled up into a question mark. "Thank you, Harry." Unwrapping one of the bars, she offered it, saying, "Have a bit, Harry." "Thanks, Anna. I think I will." A couple of tree trunks stuck out with large arms on the ends. The arms opened, and they turned out to be enormous bunches of bananas. He broke off an Harry-sized bit of the chocolate. "You like horses, Anna?" queried Harry. Anna admitted to liking horses. "You come along then and look at my Nobby," invited Harry. We went round the corner into a little side street, and there was Nobby. A positively giant-sized shire horse, festooned with horse brasses, his coat shining almost as brightly as the brasses around his neck. Nobby was feeding from what looked to me like a 200-weight coal sack slung around his neck. At Harry's approach, Nobby snorted into his bag, and we were all covered with showers of chaff and oats. Harry opened his mouth, and out poured a tornado of laughter and love. 5 minutes ago, Harry had threatened to bash somebody's brain in with his bangers, and I reckoned he could have managed 4, maybe 5, 6 fully grown men. Now he'd melted into some kind of fairy story giant for a little girl and a horse. Anna was given a handful of sugar lumps for Nobby. "He won't hurt you, Anna. He won't hurt a fly, he wouldn't." "Nor would you, Harry, I thought, you big lummox." Nobby's lips curled back, exposing a row of what looked like tombstones, then curled themselves over the sugar lumps, which vanished. After a few more minutes of horse talk, Harry said, "Here, Anna, you sit on Nobby and talk to him, and I'll unload this lot. And then I'll drive you to Woolworths in proper style." Anna took off and landed on Nobby's back, transported by one of Harry's bunches of bananas. The princess was mounted on her charger. Harry unloaded. Crates and sacks were shifted as though they were bags of feathers. When Harry had finished, he lifted Anna onto a driving box and sat beside her. I sat on the tailboard. Anna was given the reins. With a couple of G-ups, we were off. I don't suppose that Nobby needed to be told where to go. He knew his route like the back of his hoof. We didn't go through the marketplace, since the cart was of the same generous proportions as Nobby and Harry, like a battleship with wheels on. We stopped at a corner. "Woolworths!" bellowed Harry, and let down like Pavlova herself. "There you are, Annie. Woolworths," he declared. "Thank you, Harry," replied Anna. "Thank you, Anna," he grinned. "See you sometime," he yelled, as he and Nobby turned the corner. We often saw Harry and his horse Nobby after that. The lady behind the counter at Woolworths needed a little convincing that we really wanted 10 mirrors. But she handed them over to us and aimed in my direction. "You must fancy yourself." We hurried home with our prize and cleared the kitchen table. I hinged 2 of the mirrors together with glue and pieces of cloth, like the covers of a book. Anna brought out the large piece of cardboard with the thick black line drawn on it and placed it on the table. Our mirror book was opened up and stood on the cardboard. The hinge furthest away from the marked line, the near edge of the mirrors just cutting the line. I peered into the angle of the mirrors and adjusted them. The marked line and the 2 reflected lines made an equilateral triangle. Anna peered. I closed the angle slightly. The lines adjusted themselves and a square appeared. Anna stared into the mirror book. "A bit more," she commanded. I closed the angle a little more, and she shouted, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's got 5 sides. After a moment or two, "What's it called?" "A pentagon," I answered. The book closed a little more, and I announced the shapes to a hexagon, a heptagon, an octagon. I ran out of names after a decagon, So we merely counted the size and called them 17 agone or 36 agone. Anna thought it was very strange and a wonderful book. The more you closed it, the more complex were the figures. Very strange, to say the least. What was even stranger was that the book was just a couple of mirrors. But if you had a separate page for every different agone you were able to see, why then were we going to need millions of pages? No, squillions of pages. This was a truly magic book. Who'd ever heard of a book with squillions of pictures in it and no pages? As we closed the book more and more, we ran into a snag. The mirror book was only open about an inch, and we couldn't get inside to see what was going on inside the book. So we started from the beginning again. When we got to the umpteenth agone again, we couldn't get inside. What to do? Anna said, when we get to a squillion agone, it's going to be a circle. But how do we get inside? This little puzzle was solved after some thought and a lot of false trials. We scraped off some of the silver from the back of one of the mirrors and made a clear circle of glass about the size of a penny. A spy hole. Now we could look inside. It was true. A squillion agone was going to be a perfect circle. Already it was difficult to decide that what we were seeing wasn't a circle. Then another snag cropped up. As we closed up the book, we ran out of light to see things by. Anna wanted to know what we would see if the mirror book was closed tight. That was a tricky problem. How to get the light into a tight-shut mirror book? Can't we put a light inside the mirror book? Asked Anna. We dismissed matches and candles and finally hit upon a torch. The torch was quickly dismantled and reassembled. Wires were soldered to the bulb and to the battery. We put the bulb into the book. It was a bit too big. We still couldn't quite shut the book completely. The solution to this little problem was almost immediate. The two mirrors, parallel to each other, about half an inch apart, would give us a very good approximation. We set it up and draped a cloth over it so that the light couldn't get in from around the edges, and Anna looked through the spy hole and gasped. "There's millions of lights," she whispered, and, with even more surprise, "Finn, it's all in a straight line." It had surprised me 10 years ago, so I was ready for this. I reached across her and very gently squeezed the two mirrors together along one side, about a fraction of an inch apart. She leapt back to let me look inside. "What do you do?" I explained to her how to squeeze one pair of edges together. "It makes the biggest circle in the world," she exclaimed. As she sat there with her eye fixed on the biggest circle in the world, I squeezed another of the edges together. The biggest circle in the world straightened up and bent the other way. The mirror book opened and closed 100 times a day. A myriad different things were placed at an angle of the mirror. Patterns were formed of unbelievable complexity, enough to startle anyone. One afternoon, something new happened. Anna wrote large capital letters on a piece of card and placed them in the angle of the mirrors and got inside. "That's funny." Her head swiveled to look into the right-hand mirror, then swiveled to look at the left hand and back again to the right. "That's very funny," she said to no one. "The next one is the wrong way round, but the next one is the right way round." Some of the reflected letters were back to front, while others were still the right way round. She discarded the back to front letters and was now left with AHIMOTUVWX. I slid a chair in beside her and casually rifled through the selected letters until I found A. I put the card on the table beside her and bisected the angle of A with a single mirror.